This is a game on Siegfried Line in the RU-251, the Tier 8 German light tank. And this is standard mode. On either mode, I don't really normally like to go out in the field. A lot of times when you play light tanks, you get, well, this is the light tank spawn over on this east side here. So what I'll do is I'll do a loop up through here. It depends on how fast they are and whether I think they're going to snapshot me. They don't have a whole lot of speed on their team, right? They've got the T-54 lightweight and the T-49, but other than that, it's not really a whole lot of speed. So I'm going to go along the sort of north side of this F line just to see if I can see anything, and then I'll sort of head out towards this area. And then typically what I'll do in a light tank is look for seams in the defense, and usually that occurs. You'll get a lot of their enemies in town, right? And you might have some guys out here, and then usually there's some seams in the middle someplace. Sometimes it's behind a hill or something like that. And that's really what we're going to be looking for, and especially in a light tank or even in fast mediums or even some of the slower mediums, you can get by a lot by sort of exploiting these little gaps in the defense and getting to the flanks of people, and that allows you to do a lot of damage. Now there's three pretty big artillery in this, so we got to be somewhat smart about this as well. So our 430 is going out to this one line, and Bulldog went to this little area over here. So in this type of configuration, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll stop on this 5 line area over here, because that basically allows me to see up the 4-5 line, which is essentially a gap, because this Bulldog won't spot anybody until they get up until about the E line, right? But he can potentially spot guys going down this one line like this E50 right here. I will say that I did have some lag issues, so that is my excuse for every single miss or something. And so if people want to let you shoot them, you should oblige them and make sure that you shoot them. Okay, and you're still looking at this 4-5, so they lost a 9 going up here, but they know that we have some tanks out here, and that's fine. You look, they pushed their M103 up into by that little church thing, and they've got a lot of their 10s and armor behind them, right? The E100 STI and the Waffle are behind them. So that's something that we're going to keep an eye on. We know that the E75 is there, at least one of the light tanks is out there. So what happens now is they're sort of pushing up this 6 line. So when you see that, if these guys aren't really getting shot, that suggests that they don't have anybody over here, which you kind of expect because we haven't been lit on this position right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially just start pushing up this 5 line, because we're protected on this 6 flank, right? We know that there's nobody over here. Given where these guys are, sometimes there's somebody camping back here, but they haven't spotted anybody yet. So not too worried about that. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of hang out here for a while, because if I get lit, if somebody pokes out to figure out what's going on with these guys, then I can sort of move along. So there is a T-95 by that little bunker over there, but I can potentially get underneath them. Okay, and then there's a 4043 here, and then I have a shot on him, but he hasn't actually spotted me yet. There's a Pershing out over in the E1, so I don't need to shoot this guy. If I shoot him, it's most likely that I'll get lit. So what I'll do is I'll wait for our RD to shoot him, and if our RD can get him, one of our RD's shot, and if the other RD can't get him, then we'll kill him ourselves. Okay, and then again, Pershing in a good position for us to just shoot. We also see that there's a tortoise on the C2. There, guys, we've moved up and taken this sort of E line in the town, and that's good. You always want to be able to move forward there if you can. Tortoise is out of position. I don't know why you would put a tortoise out in this field anyways. It'll be very easy for us to get underneath the T-95 here. I think he lights us or something now. Yeah, I think he did. And so the T-95 lights us. I wanted to get back over here to get to the artillery, but like you'll watch, this light tank actually comes out. So I can see their T-49 coming back out at me, and so I don't want to engage a T-49 at close range. So what I'm going to do is, as he's coming out, I'm just going to leave and get to the back of this tortoise. It would have been nice for me to get the rest of those artillery, but I don't think that it's necessarily worth engaging the T-49 at close range. I'd rather have him far away and me be able to snipe him. And so it shouldn't be difficult to get to the back of the tortoise.
It's a trap.
And then as long as I'm below this ridge line, the T-49 and those guys over there won't really have a shot on me. Artillery can still shoot me. And remember, any misses that you see, purely lag or bounces. Okay, and so they've sort of counter-pushed through that middle here, using a lot of their weight. So what I want to do is I want to be able to come over on this little hill here and see if are these two light tanks chasing me or not. I also have an opportunity to try to save our IS-3 because he's basically trying to solo a T-95.
It's a trap!
So the T-49 has moved up a little bit. The T-54 is still pretty far back, so I'm not too worried about them pushing me quite yet. I still want to see if I can save this IS-3. And the T-49 is able to take out the IS-3. And then so again, what I need to do is I need to get eyes here, right? The 430 is not really going to spot a whole lot. But I anticipate that these guys eventually are going to come out. So our T-34 in this middle, so this is not looking good, right? We've got a T-34 over here and he's surrounded by 10s and armor. And then you can shoot through this little gap here. It's not nearly as difficult as it seems. T-49 has gotten behind us over that A2. T-30 is down. So the T-49 is barreling in a little bit, so, or the T-54 is, sorry. And so it seems like they're going to give a chase. And that's fine. The problem with this is that they also have 2 artillery, so I need to be careful about how I do this. I need to catch them as they're coming across an open space. And for some reason, our Bulldog chooses now to drive in when he should. That's exactly when he should have retreated. And then I think I miss a whole bunch of times here because I am a baddie.
It's a trap!
Wir haben sie böse erwischt. Gegnerfahrzeug ausgeschaltet.
And then miraculously we won in town. I forgot to even look at how that happened. And then artillery miss. And then it's just an artillery hunt. But anyways, what I really wanted to point out most specifically was, you know, that early game where we come over here, right, and you look at what your guys are doing. They sent somebody down the 1 line. One of 2 things will happen, right? Either your team doesn't push any lane, or your team will push 1 lane. Though, like either that 430 will push down this lane, or you'll have dudes push up this 6 lane or through town. And what you want to do is move up here, see if you get lit. You know, you just sort of progressively move up, see if you get lit, and always have an exit plan. Like if I get lit right here, all I gotta do is just go back down this hill. If I get lit over here, all I gotta do is go back here, sort of thing. So you always have sort of a plan in mind, but you always want to be looking for that gap in terms of finding something where you can actually be useful. And again, so the nice thing was that our team was actually aggressive on the 6 line, which was important because what we found is that they didn't have anybody in here, right? And so that's when I'm watching these guys do this, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, wow, this whole area right here is empty, which gives me this sort of gap up here to shoot. Now, there's 2 different things that can potentially spot me. It's one, if they have a guy back here, but if you'll notice that some of our medium tanks were up on this 6 line right here, which means that at the very least that we knew the T-95 was there, but he wasn't actually poking out this way. The other thing that can potentially spot you is if they camp somebody back here, and that's just something that you have to keep in mind. But basically that allowed us to drive up here and spot at least one and take out one of their artillery. And then it was just pretty much just reading the field of play, right? We saw the light tanks coming back out at us, so you can't hang out over here, right? Otherwise you can get some shots on these guys, into the backs of these guys as your team is pushing through here. But if you're going to get YOLO'd by those guys, it's almost always better to get out, especially when you know, like, they had a tortoise out here, and that's a major mismatch in an open field. You should be able to take the tortoise and then come back and then deal with it. And then even if we lost in town, I mean, it would have been more difficult because, like, they had an E100 and an STI. The waffle's not that much of a big deal, particularly if you make him have to drive across an open lane. But those are the types of opportunities that you're really looking for in a light tank, though. And so if we look at the stats, yeah, I mean, they're Waffle and E100 predictably wrecked face in the town, but our outside team did a good job of actually destroying tanks. And again, that, you know, part of exploiting that seam was that it really allowed us to take apart some of their more isolated tanks, like the E50 isolated himself, the Pershing to a lesser extent isolated himself, but the Tortoise was something that we were able to exploit, and as well as taking out their artillery. And so anyways, I think that's what you try to do when you're in a light tank or a medium tank. So I hope that was helpful, and as far as looking at lanes and Siegfried Line, and thanks for watching.